time. OT, baby. Okay, so Congressman DeSantis is here. And this is how we roll after TV. No commercials, 10 minutes live. We're on Facebook Live and our own page on foxnews.com, which has about 12,000 people cooking right now on the live chat, right? So I don't know if you extrapolate that out. That's a lot of people watching, and we're grateful to you for streaming us live. So your first time, what'd you think?
I had a great time. You guys really do it well, and the debate was lively, and you guys do a good job running the show. And yeah, I tell you, the trains were on time. You guys moved from topic to topic. I have the earpiece in, so I heard what they were saying, everything.
Will you come back, Congressman?
Absolutely.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah. Was there something that we kind of left on the table that you said, no, I want to take that back up again? Something maybe where you, I'll tell you where one of our viewers had a question for you. Speaking of that real quickly while you think of it. People are wondering why they don't have the same health care as Congress.
Well, it's interesting. When I got elected, I declined the health care because I didn't want to be in a situation where I was doing that. So I declined the congressional pension and the health care subsidies. And I'm glad I did that because I don't want to be in a situation where I'm being accused of living under different laws. And I'm the lead sponsor of a bill that would get rid of all the special health subsidies for members of Congress.
And how
we should have done. If we'd have done that in January, it doesn't make me popular with my colleagues, but the American people like it and they understand that. And had we done that first, when we first got into Congress, put Congress in the same boat as everyone else, you'd have had the Obamacare thing dealt with in no time.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Anything else that you maybe wanted to bring up?
Well, we had mentioned briefly, you and I chatted about the August recess and whether, and some people say, well, look, you got to go back some, and I want to spend time with my family too, but this 5-week recess is an anachronism. It was there because when you didn't have modern transportation,
or AC.
People would be in Washington, they need time to get back to the district or their state. And I understand that. We fly home every weekend now, so you don't need to just take 5 weeks off because what's going to happen is we come back after Labor Day. You have the government funding due at the end of the month, the debt ceiling. You're going to have potentially health care still hanging out there. You're going to have tax reform.
Let's be realistic. That's not getting canceled.
Well, people are going to say, oh, we're just running out of time. We'd love to do the appropriations. We'd love to reduce spending or do this, but we just don't have time. That is not an acceptable excuse.
You just explained to me how we do what I call the Halloween slide. So it always feels like you guys come back after Labor Day, and it's like, whoa, we're edging our way toward Halloween, and then we're not going to get anything done after that. Well, I guess you could take 2 or 3 weeks fewer in the summer. It's not like you're not going to get a break, right? You're not canceling it, you delay it.
Here's the thing. Mark Twain said our liberty is not safe when the legislature's in session. So if we have the work done, then go on a recess because I don't want Congress screwing anything up. But if you have all these things that are still out there to just take off for 5 weeks and then come back and try to ram it into 3 weeks, that is not the way you do good government. That's what leads to these 1,000-page bills that nobody reads, that are cooked up in the behind closed doors and then shoved through at the last minute.
I wanted to ask you about, so Fred Barnes wrote what I thought was a great article today in the Wall Street Journal about the idea that Republicans aren't team players, that by nature of sort of how you come to choose a party, I mean, one is about kind of kumbaya, and the other is about independence and liberty and that sort of thing. But he was trying to make the point that there's no way you win if you don't move forward on health care, that individually you're going to get slammed by your voters. Even Rand Paul. I mean, when you go back and you stood around so that nothing would happen, that seems really difficult. And then you know what you think it means for your district and then also for the country. But is it true, do you think, that every Republican suffers if something isn't done? Or could you spin it in some way?
No, I think that after having promised it to then not deliver, I think it just make you look like a joke. And so you do. Now, within that, though, having said that, fighting for a conservative bill, I think, is a good thing. And we do have some members who, even though they ran on it, they really don't want to necessarily do it. And so trying to put people, and see, here's the thing, the bolder you go on the Obamacare, I think the more popular it'll be. Part of the reason the bill that they're doing now is not that popular is because it doesn't have an obvious home. Free marketers don't think it's good enough. Yeah. Democrats don't like it. So you're better off siding and say, okay, Obamacare is a government-centered approach. We disagree with that. Here's a limited government approach. And like you mentioned, let's empower the states to deal with some of the issues that are there. I think you'd be so much better off. But yes, you have to pass a bill. If you don't pass a bill, then I think it's going to be demoralizing for a lot of voters. And obviously, the most important thing is we keep saying there's all these problems with Obamacare, and then to do nothing to fix it, I think is a big mistake.
So just as a quick follow-up to that, do you think that everyone gets that and that they're kind of like trying to negotiate, so standing out there saying, no, nothing is better than doing this. Does everyone get that they will be crucified if they don't do something?
I don't think everyone gets it. I think some people just disagree with the policy that's being proposed. I think Rand thinks that it's not strong enough, and then I think some of the moderate members, they don't really want to repeal Obamacare. I mean, they said they did, but I don't think they really do. So there is a substantive issue that they think that's just the way to go.
Where do you think in all of this that, town halls play a role in this? Because there have been a lot of representatives, and this happened, of course, leading into the 2010 election with Democrats who didn't want to show up at town halls because they knew that they were about to get a walloping. You seem like a very responsible sort of fellow who says things like we should work more than we do. So, I mean, would you caution your fellow Republicans against this attitude of I'm not going to show up and listen to you? Because, I mean, there are thousands of people, millions across the country, who do want to show up and they want to talk to their congressman. They want to specifically voice concerns with the GOP health care bills. I mean, don't you think that that would help them going forward in crafting a bill that would be workable? And, just in terms of your general duty to your constituents, I mean, where do you see the role of interfacing with them? Yeah, no,
I think you have to do it. I mean, we've done a series of town halls. It was interesting. I did a number of them back to back, and I was getting the same written questions from some of the activists about some of these issues. So you do it, but I'll tell you, it's not the only way to do it. And I had some complaints with some of our town halls from people because there was a lot of screaming and yelling, and they just want to basically have a civil dialogue. Yeah. So I think some of these things to be civil is great. And you know what, as an elected official, if you come up to me with an opposing viewpoint and you explain it rationally and reasonably, that actually has a much better impression on me than if you try to yell at me from the crowd, because, I mean, that's just not how you do legislation. I mean, you try to do it not based on emotion, but based on reason and fact. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got to get out there and mix it up with people.
So I'm seeing kind of a trend here on our live chat that people are curious what happens if you guys don't go forth. I mean, if the Senate doesn't do what they need to do with regard to Obamacare, does Obamacare just sit and stay, or does it, and since people have said, including the president, it will implode, what's our future?
So the president tweeted a week or two ago, if the Senate doesn't pass this bill, then just repeal and we'll replace later. So I don't know if the Senate could have the votes to do that. But remember, in January 2016,
you think everybody would side with Rand Paul?
Well, but here's the thing. No. If this fails, then what's your plan B? Do nothing or do the bill we promised? We actually promised.
If it gets repealed, what's behind it? I think is the question that people want to have answered.
So what we did in 2016 was we gave a bill to Obama that repealed the taxes, the mandates, and rolled back the subsidies. Now, there wasn't a replacement on that, but it was set out to where there'd be a transition period so that we could debate and legislate the replacement elements. Maybe you want to cross state lines. Maybe you want health savings accounts. Maybe you want risk pooling. You can do all that. We tried to do it all in one bill. Obviously, we've had limited success.
So the question is, he wanted to split it up. But beside all of that, let's pretend like that all happens. You can understand why the American public feels like they can't trust that when you can't even vote as Republicans to get to the point to debate it in the Senate.
No, that would be the thing. Like, look, the U.S. Senate, I think, is a very dysfunctional body right now. It can't perform its core functions anymore. Just to not have a debate, I think, is a mistake. So as a Republican, even if you had problems with the bill, debate it and let's open up the amendment process and then offer your ideas.
So we have like a minute left. Tell us something that we don't know about you.
Well, we mentioned my daughter, so she's 7.5 months, and we were at the White House picnic it was a few weeks ago now, and the president's working the rope line.
Pictures?
Yeah, well, we do. We gave you one, but so my wife and I are there with her in the crowd and just kind of hanging out, and the president sees me because he watches TV, knows me from TV, knows me from the Congress. He's like, Ron, get over here. One of my best congressmen. But I got to introduce my daughter to the president, and he looked at my wife and said, "Man, your wife's beauty." He looked at Madison, our daughter. He's like, "Great genes," and so that was pretty neat.
That's so cool.
I was hoping they were going to pop that picture up. Do you guys in the booth have it with our last 20 seconds or so?
And by the way, you're like a phenomenal baseball player, right?
Yeah. Well, I was captain of the Yale baseball team, and I was the Republican MVP of this most recent congressional baseball game. Not like that is exactly the big leagues.
And you went on after Yale to Harvard.
Yeah.
You're fancy.
Then I did the Navy, so it was a good run.
And you were a Navy guy.
That's right.
Wow, love having you.
You and your wife and Madison,
yes,
which is fabulous. Thank you for being here. We can't wait to have you back.
I would love to come back. Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow.